Hello, and welcome to another episode of Casting Views, the podcast with your host. I'm Dan,
And I'm Lou.
where we take a topic each week and cast views on it. Now, we're going to experiment with our first theme month, and we're going to do food because who doesn't love food, right? And the people in our podcast group know I'm obsessed with food, especially with the time difference between us and America. I was talking about pizza once, and I got them wanting a pizza at 6 in the morning over there. So yeah, we're going to talk about food. But before we get into that, let's have another promo from one of our friends. And this week we're going to feature Decaying with the Boys again. Adam and Matt bring you a weekly update in all sorts of things. So mainly it's going to be beer and it's going to be fighting of some sort, usually wrestling. So sit back and enjoy the trailer.
Welcome back to the Judgeatorium. It's Decaying with the Boys.
That's right, it's Matt, it's Adam, two comedic co-hosts that talk about what they love.
Beers, combat sports, pop culture, horror movies, and whatever else we want.
So subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to catch new episodes dropping every Sunday morning.
And we're back. So Lou, food.
Food. We love food.
Food
If
month. Yeah.
if we had a visual podcast, you'd tell how the both of us really enjoy food as well, I reckon.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is it. I mean, it's going to be tough keeping it just down to a month of episodes for food with us, isn't it?
But yeah, I mean, I'm probably coming at this from the perspective of like stuff that I loved as a child, but feel like it's kind of not quite socially acceptable for me to eat as an adult, if that makes sense.
Sounds worrying and interesting at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of those things that you just look a little bit weird for eating now. So if you put a plate of something down, the people would look at you and be like, "Are you sure you're all right?" I feel like that's kind of the way that I'm approaching it.
And what we've done for this first episode is I've also looked at kind of the foods that remind me of my childhood because, as you always keen to point out, I'm a slightly older than you. So kind of I'm looking at the food I had in like when I was a kid in the 80s and going into the early 90s. I'm picking foods that I remember and also have got maybe something quirky about it to talk about.
Yeah, yeah. Right. Do you want me to kick off with some food items that I think would be socially acceptable, socially unacceptable as an adult, then
Socially unacceptable to eat as an
unacceptable
adult.
nowadays, but things that I loved as a kid?
Okay, have you got them? So, I mean, because I've gone like probably a bit overboard. I've actually like got a menu in front of me, right? So, but instead of first course, second course, and dessert, I've got breakfast items, dinner food, desserts, drinks, and snacks. So,
Okay, I tell you what, you kick off with your breakfast items because I don't think I've got many breakfast items. I've got more snacks, sweets, that sort of thing.
okay, well, breakfast items, I've actually only got a couple of things on here. The third is more of a generic thing, but I've got something that I remember massively was Pop Tarts when they came over to
Yeah.
yeah, they came over to England in the 90s and they were very much an American thing. And so again, kind of as a kid in the well, kid, I would have been about 13, 1990, yeah, 13, 14. And I remember seeing these over and you just wanted them because you saw they were advertised really enthusiastically. And then you get them and they were nice, but they're so sweet. Have you had Pop Tarts?
Yeah, and I feel like as well, the thing that came along with that was that they were basically in all TV shows stroke films for a period of time as well.
Yeah, well that was it. They were the thing,
Yeah.
right? It's like fresh from the States and they're nice. And like obviously I'll go straight for the chocolate because I love chocolate, right? But they're just because you've got the icing on the outside as well, haven't you? There's that like layer of icing, and then you've got the filling inside, which is really sweet. So they're that kind of item where every now and then you think, "Oh, I'm going to try it. I'm going to grab a box, remind myself of it." And then the minute you bite into it for the first time, you remember why you haven't bought it for like 10, 15 years.
I feel like, and again, not to offend any of our American audience, obviously, because we know a lot of you
Ah,
are American here, but I feel like a lot of the snacks that are imported from America are just really, really sugary.
yeah, there is
So there's
yeah.
always a bit of like an artificial kind of like sugar taste to them. Because do you know what I immediately link when I think Pop Tarts? And again, they're completely different things, but do you know Twinkies?
Oh, yeah, but you like those, don't you?
To be fair, I really like Twinkies, but I accept the fact that I'm basically just eating what is like a moist, cake-like substance, because I don't know if it is cake, I'm not sure what's in it, with like some sugar cream in the middle, and it's probably like 600 calories per little foam like finger thing.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the same category that I would put Pop Tarts in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you, and, like, some of the chocolate over there as well, it's got that real kind of almost, like, gritty sweetness to it, if you know what I mean. It's and like I said, the thing is, I would gladly well, because I tend not to do the shopping, but if I was doing the shopping, I probably would stick a box of Pop-Tarts in the trolley now because I'd fancy doing it. Yeah, and it was all the colours. I think they had blueberry, strawberry. Yeah, they were made really appealing. And like I said, I put it on there mainly because it was something so different from the cornflakes and the sugar puffs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It was
that's
something
true.
different, It was like a little cake in a casing kind of thing.
But do you not find as well that stuff like that, and again with the like, do you know the flavors? They're really like intense flavors. Do you know in the UK, obviously, a lot of like kids' medicine was always like sweetened with something artificial, so it was
Yeah.
always banana flavored or something. I
Banana
feel
or
like,
strawberry juice.
yeah, I feel like that's kind of the throwback flavor that it gives me, and I feel like that's why I was never particularly keen on Pop Tarts.
I like it, but what I would like is if it didn't have the filling and it was just a rectangular bit of the pastry or whatever it is with just a little bit of the icing on the outside, that'd do me. I'd actually love that. So whoever makes them, if you're listening, my next the next one I'm going to mention is an odd one because you can have it at any time of day, but I used to like having it in the morning, but only at weekends. It was like a special treat, and that's potato waffles.
Oh yeah, potato
Do
waffles,
you know
brilliant. Yeah, brilliant.
And again, like I said, I know you can get them, although like everything, I am convinced they're about 30% smaller than they used to be when I was a kid. They were like grapes. Do you know what I mean? You had to lift it up. If I was feeling, or kind of then when I became an adult and grown up, I then used to like grate cheese over it or put cheese over it as it was this. You'd have the cheese melt through.
Right, yeah. I always loved the potato waffles because you've stolen one of my dinner items, just with beans, beans and a potato waffle. Amazing, it's such an elite level food. But
We could come back to that when you do it, so I won't talk much more about it. And for me, again, the memories are because it came in a big box. You'd get about 10, and it was in that big red box, and it was as you opened it up and they'd fall out, you'd pull them out. So potato waffles, but I'll finish with the one that technically isn't necessarily about eating food, but it was back in the day when I were a lad, you'd get toys in the cereal,
oh yeah,
or you'd get like a CD on the front of the box or something.
yeah, you did, yeah. It used to be like attached in the front. Yeah. I know what you mean now. Yeah,
Do you remember? Now the thing was, I used to remember every time you'd buy it, and like your mum was so like, "What cereal do you want?" You say that one. It was like, "Are you sure that's what you want?" And not because there's a toy in it. It's like, "No, I really like that." And then like 6 weeks later, it's still in the cupboard. Because what you'd then do is you'd get it home and you'd empty the whole packet out onto the counter just to get the toy, which would invariably fall into the bottom of it for you to play with it for about 5 minutes, chuck it, and then, like I said, 6 weeks, the cereal's gone. But, I mean, it's been for years. You don't get anything in cereals anymore, do you? It's not.
I feel like nowadays it'd just be like health and safety
I
regulations.
think
So
that's
it'd just be
exactly what
like,
it is.
oh yeah, they're just in case children choke on them or something. I feel like that's the only reason that you don't see that as often.
Yeah, in case when you're pouring out your cereal and that, like, plastic toy falls out into the bowl, you mistake it for a cornflake,
Yeah. All of a
or a Rice
sudden,
Krispie.
yeah, you're going to A&E because you've got like a plastic Kinder Egg toy stuck in
Yeah,
your
there's
throat
like
or something.
there's a transformer, I didn't realize there was a transformer on my
Yeah.
spoon. Soon as you didn't have breakfast, that's a quick tour through. Yeah, Pop Tarts because they were just amazing. They were like they were exciting at the time. I know that sounds sad now, but they were in this day where you can go into your Tesco and you've got shelves of from around the world. Like you get loads of American sweets and stuff in Tesco now. So without sort of wanting to steal another one of your one, I just sort of like the marshmallow in a jar. Is it
Oh yeah,
marshmallow?
yeah.
I mean, I don't get that, but I've never bought one, but I really want to.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's just like can but I feel like is that stuff that's like in the American section of Tesco?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I've seen that. Yeah. By the way, for our audience listening in America, we have like American sections in our supermarket, but they're just really expensive. So like a box of Twinkies is like £9, which is what, probably like $12 or $13 at the point of recording this. Um,
You get Lucky Charms is always
Lucky Charms,
Lucky
and
Charms.
they're like £6 a box.
Yeah. I tell you what though, I did find a sweet from the American shelf that I really like. I think they're called Milk Duds. And I can't remember exactly because, like I said, I haven't got them for a while. I think it's like toffee and chocolate, I think. But yeah, I went through a phase where I had to buy Milk Duds and they were like £2 for a tiny little box of sweets, you know. There we go. That was a quick tour of breakfast from my childhood.
Varied.
Very, yeah, well, yeah.
Right. Do you want me I'm going to skip to some dinner stuff. I guess, to be fair, I guess most of these things you could have as breakfast if you wanted, depending on where you were or what you were doing. So I'm going to kick off at a time when I was young, and this is a time when Jamie Oliver didn't exist.
Okay.
I think
Was there a time?
yeah, was there a time when he hadn't invaded our schools and destroyed our meals? Now, for anybody, again, a little bit of context as to who Jamie Oliver is and why I've mentioned him. Jamie Oliver was somebody who set out to make school dinners healthy.
Yeah.
And so what he did is he had programs on TV, and he turned around and said, chicken nuggets are made of 40% cow hair and hoof and all of that sort of thing. He said it's
All
all
the good stuff.
disgusting. Yeah, and then all of the good stuff ended up going from you ended up going from slices of pizza at school to broccoli and some carrot sticks, basically. So one thing from my childhood is turkey Twizzlers.
I almost said it and then thought, no, that's probably where you're going. Now,
Now,
yeah, I never had
again,
them. Yeah.
again, something that you could probably have for breakfast if you wanted, but turkey Twizzlers were elite. Again, something I feel like I could never get away with eating now. And what would you pair with turkey Twizzlers?
Well, if it were me, like I said, I never had them, but you'd probably stick beans and peas next to it or something like that, would you?
You're kind of on the right tracks with beans because I had spaghetti hoops.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Spaghetti hoops do the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because again, I feel like that's something that I've never had from my childhood, and it would be weird for me to just make a meal and eat
Oh
that
my God.
myself.
Spaghetti hoops. No, I did. I had them. My word. Yeah. The slop, they came out so thick. Yeah. Oh my word.
It was like it was like some sort of like really viscous like.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Yeah.
And then, what better thing to dip in the spaghetti hoops than smiley potatoes?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, if I had to turn around and say, give me the perfect dinner from my childhood, it would have probably been either turkey dinosaurs or turkey Twizzlers, like the perfect school dinner, turkey Twizzlers or turkey dinosaurs, forgot to mention them, potato smiles and spaghetti hoops.
Were turkey Twizzlers, were they like breaded? Were they like chicken nuggets but turkey?
So, from the way that I remember them, you know what? I have to go and see if anybody does them anymore. From what I remember, they had some form of coating on the outside, but it wasn't necessarily like a breading.
Okay.
Do you know, like that really like processed chicken that
Yeah.
McDonald's used to make their nuggets out of?
Yeah.
It was basically that, just like rolled around a skewer, and it was either like fried or oven baked or something.
I
But
think
yeah,
I
they were
get it.
just like a
Is it
really
like,
like.
do you have you ever had now, is it Fridge Raiders? Is it Fridge
Yeah,
Raiders?
yeah, yeah,
Kinda
yeah. I
like
guess
that?
yeah, a little bit like that. Yeah.
Oh, man. The thing is, people listening are probably crying out or something that this is all awful food, but sometimes don't you just crave something a little like that? I mean,
Yeah. Do you know something like just the most like basically where you could put everything in the oven at 200 degrees and it's all done in 20 minutes. It's all the same color when it goes on the plate.
on the potato smells, to be fair, they're pretty cool because again, I'm sure you or at least your sister had them when you were little. Because
Oh
I
yeah.
remember coming round, or like my mum when you used to come to ours, she would cook them, and I'd be like looking and say, why can't I have those? I've
It's
got these frozen
basically
potatoes.
basically, do you know when you go to a posh wedding and the kids' meal comes out and you
Yes.
regret getting the adult meal, which is like lamb shank with some like lamb sauce or something, and then the kids all get chicken nuggets and spaghetti hoops? That's actually the meal that you want, isn't it?
Yeah, we were at one recently. I think. Well, when I say recently, it was pre-COVID, of course. But I'm sure there was a wedding we were at where, yeah, I think we were there together. We looked at the kids' menu coming out. I was thinking, damn it.
Yeah, wish I should have marked it down. I've got one more. Now, this is food, but it's something again that's dinner that I feel like I only did when I was young. if that makes sense. So it's a place, and that's a carvery.
Yeah, okay, I had something similar, but okay. So you haven't done carveries recently, or
No, so to me, I don't know what it is, but I feel like I've either just never seen a Toby Carvery in like 15 years, or I've just never paid enough attention. But you know, when you go there, they're like, do you want gammon or beef or this or this or that? And you can just go up and then you get roast potatoes that have been sat out for 45 minutes and are
yeah.
already limp. Like, again, it's one of those things that it's just like a memory of like, do you know, like a cheap meal out when you were a kid?
Yeah, so again, well, I'm sure probably most people do, but if you don't know what cover is, it's like they said, you go up to a counter and they've got all the components of like a roast dinner, haven't they? But separate.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
go up with your plate and you say, yeah, I'll have some potatoes, I'll have that. My problem is always when I'm looking at them and they say the meat, I'm like, well, I want a bit of everything, please. Can't you do? You know?
Yeah, can you just do me free of everything?
Yeah, and normally I'm like, get to the veg bit and like, no, no, you can skip that bit. Just like give me the Yorkshire pudding, the potatoes, the three meats. Because what is it? It's gammon, chicken, and turkey. No, is it
I think it's gammon. Is it turkey? And
gammon?
then is it pork? No, pork. Well, pork would be gammon is pork,
Oh
isn't
no, sorry, gammon. Here we go. We're gonna spend half
it?
hour talking.
Is it lamb
Gammon,
or something? I can't remember.
chicken, and beef. I think.
Ah, you're right. It's beef. It's beef. It's beef. Ignore me. I just said pork and gammon were different things. I'm an idiot.
I've only ever been to a carvery a couple of times, and I think those were like Christmas meals at work. So it's an easy place to go with people. Do you know what I mean? So you can then choose what you want.
Yeah.
When when I was younger, as a treat, it would be like once a month probably, or a bit more. We would go to a beef eater for dinner.
Oh, beef. Yeah, yeah. Beef eaters again. You know what? I was actually in a beef eater really recently, just because you need to sit down. You just want like a bit of meat, some potatoes or something, or some
I was going to
chips.
ask if beef eaters were still a thing.
Yeah, they are. I was in Nottingham recently and stayed for a night up there and ended up eating in a beef eater because it was just right next to the hotel. And I thought, you know what? I haven't been there in a while. Not as good as I remember it, to be honest.
I can probably imagine that.
Yeah, kind of feel like it's a chain of those like places that was kind of left in the past, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's what it was. So even at the time, I think they're like a chain of restaurants, aren't they? That did a mix between. It felt like it was a mix between pub food and something a bit more than pub. Maybe even like early versions of trying to be like a gastro pub, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
but without the. Well, they would have a bar, but it's more like a setup like a restaurant. Now, yeah, I'd go there and I remember I'd probably order the same thing every time, and I remember it was called marinated chicken. That was it, which could be anything, but it was like
Yeah.
this chicken that it was a chicken breast that came out red, and it was just like a spicy kind of sauce around it. But it just felt great. That was like when Dad would say, "All right, let's go to the beef eater." It was like, "Yes, that's it. We're going somewhere nice," you know. But like you said, whether it was the case then or it's just gone a bit downhill, because some of these things haven't kind of kept pace with fashions or tastes, have they? So
Yeah, do you know a bit like in the UK, for instance, when you walk into a McDonald's, they made it all touch screen and everything, but then you walk into a Burger King and it still looks like the 80s. That's kind of the where like um beef eaters have been left in my mind.
did you ever know Wimpy?
Oh yeah, Wimpy, loved Wimpy. Funnily enough, there's one near to where my girlfriend lives.
Oh, is
So
there? Yeah.
yeah, we've been there for milkshakes and that sort of thing. I still think Wimpy's brilliant, to be fair, where
Yeah.
they exist, of course, because
Yeah.
they don't very much anymore. But yeah,
'Cause
brilliant they were.
Wimpy was like the burger chain over here, wasn't it? And then your Burger Kings and your McDonald's came over, sort of came on the high street, and that was it then, wasn't it?
What was the word they had for that sausage that was cut in like a circle?
Yeah,
And
I'm
it
not
was
sure
like,
we could say it without being cancelled.
oh my God, I don't know. I just remember it being something bad, if that makes sense. I'm gonna have to Google it now and see whether or not we can get away
Well,
with it.
no, we could say it because that was the name of the item. See, while you're looking for that, the thing I remember about Wimpy's was that you ordered the food and it came out on a plate and it had metal cutlery. So it was a burger bar, but you got it on a proper plate with a knife and fork.
Oh right, yeah, 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 yeah. It was like a proper sit down place, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, I've just realised why we can't say that. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. For anyone wondering, you'll have to Google it, I
Yeah,
guess.
just Google it. It was a round split sausage as it in,
Unbelievable.
but they also did
Now I know why Wimpy don't exist anymore.
well, yeah, yeah, and they had something called a Coke float.
Oh my god, yeah, with like you've got a Coke but ice cream like
Ice
in it
cream
as
in
well.
it,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Oh
yeah.
god, a Coke float is brilliant. Not enough places do a Coke float anymore. Again,
Oh,
I feel like that's
didn't know if it
an
was, if any did.
I feel like it's a menu item of like a throwback age again. But I don't understand why, because full fat Coke plus ice cream of any flavour,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
Like, how
yeah.
is that not good? I don't understand.
But it was just the fact that it was, like I said, you got it on a plate with a knife and fork. Class, class. Going back to actually your spaghetti hoops also remind me of alphabeti spaghetti. Did you ever have that? So it was the same, but it was the letters, and you would try to spell a rude word. You would try to find the letters. Of course, you would.
Like
That
by the
that
time you'd made your countdown, yes, you'd turn around and it'd gone cold.
yeah. Um, I've got some food items from my past. If we want to go through those.
Yeah, because this will be
It's,
interesting to see if I know as many of them as well.
I think you would no. I think you'll know all of them because, like I said, I think they exist to some extent now, but I think they're brought back, if you know what I mean. Some have had a resurgence. The first thing I had on it, and again, you could have this as any time. You could have it as lunch if you wanted, and you could technically have it for breakfast. Were Findus crispy pancakes?
Oh, I don't
Do
think
you
I've
know what
heard of
they are?
them.
They are. I think they tried redoing them again recently. So they were like a savoury pancake folded over. So they were hard and crispy. They had like a breadcrumb, and they would have like, I think it was a mince filling. There was chicken mushroom, I think, and there was a cheese filling. And they were just really nice. They were these, like I said, these thick, crimped, savoury pancakes with filling. A few years ago, bought a box, because they were advertising like they're rebranding them. And my God, it was awful. They're tiny. The meat was gristly. I think I chucked half the box away. And that's what I'm saying. Like you were saying about you want to go back to the foods of your childhood, but I'm guessing some of them you'll be disappointed when if you did.
Yeah, yeah, and do you know what it is though? Is we've known that like chocolate manufacturers, for instance, and all food manufacturers do it, rather than increase price, just reduce what you get.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you always find, as much as people will say, "Oh, you were a kid, you remember it differently." No, no, no. Portion sizes get smaller with these
definitely.
things. That's just the way it's
And
always been.
and I think ingredients have got cheaper.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree because it's all cutting costs, isn't it? So those things that you remember being so good
Yeah,
when you were young, you try them now and they're actually a little bit crap sometimes.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. Another thing is actually it's obvious what it is. It's cod and parsley sauce in a bag. If you look at it, it's square. It's
Sorry.
Lucia is having technical troubles, and by technical troubles, I mean he's bashed. He's whacked his microphone halfway across the room. Yes, you get like a square bit of cod in a bag that's got a sauce in it, and it's just really bizarre. Again, they were like a lot of the stuff because I think when I was a kid, like the ready-made meals were becoming popular. So again, I think they were there from the 80s. Now, on the odd occasion, like when I fancy something different or I was getting in late 'cause I was at mates, you'd have like a ready meal or something like this. And this was, like I said, it's literally a frozen bit of fish in a bag with parsley sauce that you just boil for half an hour. And then you pull it out, you cut it, you burn in your hands. But yeah, have you ever seen those?
I don't think I've seen them. I don't
No?
think I've seen them. No, that seems like a very, very throwback thing for me.
Yeah, it kind of does remind me, and I remember asking my partner at the time, the other night as well, said, what were your memories? And that was one she threw up as well. So not threw up literally, but threw at me. Yeah, so that's cod and parsley sauce in a bag, a frozen square chunk of fish.
I'm maybe less on board with that one than I was with some of the
Do you know
others.
what? Is probably all right. I mean, well, I'd like to say fish is fish, right? But yeah, yeah. Have a look. At least have a look in the supermarket because it comes in the box it comes in is literally no bigger than the item as well. So it's just tightly packed in it, and I think you get two or four, and it is literally just a square. I'm trying to think. I don't know, like a big calculator size or something. So yeah. Well, I want to skip a couple. I think I want to just focus on a couple. Special mention, I think, to sun-dried tomatoes or tomatoes. They felt like they exploded at one point. They were like the must-have item. Again, they seemed fancy and if you had them, because again, I think they were popular in the States, and it was like it's a tomato, but we've dried it, so it's different. And now you then find it in all kinds of now starters and antipasti and things like that, don't you? So
Yeah, sun-dried tomatoes now just seem like kind of like a staple of anyone who's kind of put on, do you know, like a little bit of like a party spread.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'll come to a couple of party foods after. But one of the things I was going to mention, and we didn't have it that often, was smash.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
You never heard of smash?
Never heard of
Oh
smash.
man, that we've found the divide now. We've found the divide. So smash is a powdered mashed potato.
It just couldn't get any shit, could it?
It literally is that. I think you just add like boiling water to it and stir it up to make
It's,
what
it's just I just don't understand why. I
to make
just don't
what
know
was
why.
yeah, to make because it's all about time, right? Because I mean, you've got a potato, all you have to do is boil it and smash
Where
it.
did people live in the 80s? At the International Space Station?
But you know what was clever about it was they had a really good advertising campaign where they had these weird, funny, childish kind of like robots. So that it was set in space. Your International Space Station thing isn't far off. It was advertised by robots.
Right. You know what? Funnily enough, my mum and dad sat me down and showed me some adverts that were on TV, and I've literally watched this as of maybe 2 weeks ago. This advert, I've just Googled it, the smashed powdered mashed
Yeah,
potato, and I've just immediately recognised the advert that they showed me.
yeah. So they were robots that had these funny voices like this that we were talking in our last episode, and they would laugh and go ha 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 ha. That's actually not a bad impression, I think.
My God, my God.
And also they had a little jingle at the end, and if you can add a jingle and it went for mash get smash. You see how these things stick in your head, and I haven't seen this for like 30 years.
My
But like you
God.
said, it wasn't the greatest stuff, and we only ever had it once or twice. And again, it was probably pressure from me to my mum to say I want the robot mashed potato, you know, because it would come out. It was gloopy. It doesn't come out. It's not potato. I don't know what it is, but it wasn't.
It's like 40% potato, 60% magic.
Yeah, or hope. Yeah, because if you
Yeah.
put too much water in,
Just before you go on as well, I've realised that I've actually omitted one for my dinner thing. But
right,
again,
go for it.
technically, could be breakfast. And I feel like this is going to be a more your generation thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Spam.
Never had it.
No way.
Never had it, and I don't think I want it.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow, like a spam fritter or something.
yeah. Oh, do you know what? I may have had a spam fritter because of obviously, the shop. But I just don't like the idea of spam. Having said that, I love corned beef, but I've never had
Oh, see,
spam.
yeah, I can't get on board with corned beef because I think that that's just a little bit grim. But spam, I think's all right.
So
I think
did you have
was it.
that then? Is that
Yeah, yeah. I think it stopped, but like it was like a obviously with the nature of the fish and chip shop being with the family and that sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
It was a staple of fish and chip shop menus for years and years. But I feel like you can't really get that product anymore in terms of fish and chip shops don't really
Not in the
do it.
shop, but
And
I think in the supermarket, I think you can still get it.
like yeah, cans of spam, but spam fritter was brilliant. It's basically like you open a can, it's just like a chunk of ham, isn't it?
Yeah, but you're cheating though. Come on. I mean, ultimately, a spam fritter is basically a chunk of it dipped in batter and then deep fried. So basically, you're just eating deep fried food rather than the spam itself. I think that's
Yeah,
cheating
yeah,
a bit.
I
Yeah.
think that's why the spam. Yeah, I feel like if you gave me spam to eat just out of the tin, I don't know. Does it need to be cooked? I can't even remember if it needs
No,
to
I
be
think
cooked
you
or
just
not.
eat it straight out.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, obviously, I don't know if it was like a lunch and crackers thing. I think I remember them getting out on Top Gear once. But yeah, spam I think was a brilliant thing. Again, kind of something that would maybe complement a turkey dinosaur dinner.
Yeah, I mean, you can deep fry everything here. Are you going to talk about anything else deep fried?
Oh, shall we talk about anything else deep
Yeah,
fried?
because for an American friends, I don't whether you can get it over there, but here it's quite specific to fish and chip shops, isn't it? And
Yeah,
oh, go you explain it.
yeah, I mean, I think from what I remember, the trend of battering strange things came from Scotland, if I remember rightly, because I think it was
Scotland are
like,
definitely up north anyway, the north
yeah,
of
yeah.
England, yeah,
So it started with battered Mars bars, and
yeah,
they
which are brilliant,
they are honest.
amazing.
You know what? This is one thing that I feel sorry for all of our American listeners is that you don't have fish and chip shops
Or
in the
yeah,
States, or the ones that you do have aren't actually proper fish and chip shops, if we're
yeah,
being honest. But yeah, all of a sudden it took to battering stuff. So again, with the shop in the family, battered Mars bars became a staple where you turn around and be like, "Can you do me one?" They're brilliant. They are amazing. It's just like a gloopy mess of like that caramel chocolate mixed together, all encased in this crispy outer coating. Genius things. And then do you remember it became a trend like battered Oreos, battered cream eggs?
It's anything.
Yeah,
Twix,
literally, and
Twixes.
yeah,
People
just
were, yeah.
yeah, absolutely anything. It was like seasonal stuff.
I remember people coming in the shop and saying, "My dad, could you batter this for us?" And he would say, "Yeah, give me 20p for doing it, and you can have what you want." But you hit the nail on the head. I only ever had them a couple of times. So yeah, so again, yeah, imagine you've got a Mars bar, you dip it into a batter, you fry it, and then like you said, you've got that hard casing then, and then you cut into it, and the chocolate is all melted inside, isn't it? And it's just heaven. It was heavenly.
They are just so sickly though, because Mars bars in and of themselves are actually really sickly chocolates. Do you know the when I say Mars bars as well, I mean the proper sized ones.
Yeah,
Do you know, like the
not the
actual,
fun size.
not the fun size ones, because let's be honest, we all eat two of them. But the the actual proper sized ones, when you battered them, they were so sickly. I actually think my dad said to me that once there was a kid that came into the shop and he must have only been like 16 or 17, and he sat down and his mates had dared him to see how many of them he could eat in a row, and I think he
Oh,
managed about six of them.
wow.
I just do not know how he managed to stomach it because they were so sweet. But yeah, if there's one thing about to our American viewers, if you come to the UK, try and find a fish and chip shop that will just batter random chocolates because it'll
Yeah.
change your life. Change your life.
I remember I tried to batter chips once. That didn't work so well. Yeah. Yeah.
but
If
there,
people have perfected it now, let me know. But
but there was a period of time in the UK where people legitimately were battering everything. There was battered pizzas that became a
yes,
thing.
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember? And then, funnily enough, I can't remember what the name of the account is on TikTok, but there is actually a fish and chip shop that I followed on TikTok, and he literally just used to respond to comments, battering anything that you asked.
Yes, yes, I saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
they'd be like, batter a Subway meatball marinara. He'd be like, let's go.
But the thing is, though, right? You want to try it because, like you said, you don't even have to eat the batter. Like a lot of people don't eat the batter on fish, do they? The batter
Yeah,
then
yeah.
becomes a casing to just fry and cook whatever is inside it, isn't it? I recently had something here. It's quite a regional thing, but it's called a clanger, and I don't know if you've had one. The argument about where it's originated from. So I know it as a Bedfordshire clanger. There's a Hertfordshire clanger, but ultimately, what it is it's a pastry, right? Imagine like an oblong pastry, and for 3/4 of it, you've got a savoury filling. Like I had pork in sage and cider,
Okay.
and at the other end of it, you've got a sweet thing. So this was apple and sultanas. But all in the same thing.
Right.
And if you think about it, Cornish pasty, I used to love Cornish pasties as well. And it's got meat and potato and veg in it. The pastry back then was made for more protecting the filling. So I think it was for like miners when they went down into the mines. They could then open up the pastry and have the filling that was inside.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So now, yeah, to me, almost like battering everything is a similar thing. It's just that instead of keeping nice things clean in the middle, we're just taking a kebab or something that's already fried or whatever, and and sticking it in a fryer to do more stuff to it. So
It is weird. Do you know what? The only thing that I feel like you couldn't batter, Kinder eggs.
that, yeah, no, you definitely couldn't. Yeah, you definitely couldn't do that. I've got one more dinner thing I want to mention, and again, you can get it now, but I think to me this really sums up like the mid late 80s, possibly early 90s prawn cocktail.
Yeah.
So imagine this: you're in the mid 80s, end of the 80s, start 90s. You get invited round to a dinner party, and you got like a glass bowl, and the key touch was like a lettuce leaf in it for the
Yeah,
garnish,
one
right?
sing one
Yeah.
single lettuce leaf.
That's a classy garnish, was a lettuce leaf. Then you would have cold prawns on it, and then you would have what would be like it's either a cocktail sauce or a Thousand Island sauce, and I'm sure it was just like ketchup mixed with mayonnaise, right? Slathered over it. So, and that was the start. You could even then, and I think you can still get it now. They make it fancy, but that was like the starter in any restaurant, or if you went to a dinner party, you would get like a prawn cocktail.
Yeah, that was like a posh thing because they always had like everybody had bowls specifically for prawn
Yes, yeah,
cocktails.
yeah,
Like they all came in those like chalice looking crystal glass things,
yeah,
and that's how they were served everywhere. And even at home, that's what people would have.
yeah, yeah.
Funnily enough, I made myself a prawn cocktail literally on
Did
Saturday
you?
because I used to love it. Like if I've got a thing that I would love to kick off as a starter, prawn cocktail is genuinely a brilliant thing. But I even love the flavour of crisps. I think
Oh
that's my
yeah,
favourite
oh yeah,
flavour of
prawn,
crisps.
prawn cocktail.
But yeah, prawn cocktails, yeah, I can imagine because that would have been a really posh thing back then. I just don't think you see it very much now. I don't really, I've never really seen menus where you can ask for a prawn cocktail nowadays.
I've often seen them like when we've gone to Christmas meals at pubs, but it's not the same. Like the bread is a rustic chunk of
Oh
homemade
yeah,
this and that.
yeah, yeah,
When you just want it to be like a bit of sliced bread with
yeah,
butter
yeah.
on it, and like the prawns will be arranged in a certain way. No, you just want it chucked in, like you said, this glass bowl or this glass chalice thing, or you want them resting on the outside of the bowl with the sauce in the
Yeah,
middle.
in the middle,
Yeah,
yeah, so you
you
can
know,
dip them in.
yeah. And the one thing I have to say again for our American friends is prawns over here is they're tiny unless you get like the jumbo prawns, which over there when I've been to the States, you buy shrimp and they're like about 6 times the size of our prawns. Do you know what I mean? So we're talking about these tiny little things as well.
And again, they're really expensive in
Yeah, yeah.
supermarkets as well.
So you probably got about 20 of them in your bowl, but you think that's a lot, but it's not. They probably make up about 6 normal sized ones. Yeah. While we talk about that, I kind of want to mention a couple of party foods, right? Because I've got 2 things on here that really sum up again my childhood at like family gatherings.
Okay, all right, go on then.
And again, these are probably from the 60s, 70s. People still do them now. I'll start with the one I only thought of literally about half hour before we started this. Vol au vents.
I
Have you ever
have
had those?
never heard of that. I don't even know how you spell what you just came out of your mouth.
Let's see if I get it right. But you want VOL space
Yeah.
AU. Sorry, what come out of my mouth? AU space VENTS, I think.
Genuinely, I thought that was all one word, but fair
No, no.
enough.
They're like little pastry cases, puff pastry cases, right? Tiny though. Have you found them?
Yeah, yeah, I'm looking at them.
So they're pastry cases that you'd put a filling in, and it could be whatever the filling you wanted.
Yeah, it looks a bit like posh pork pies.
Yeah, but tiny, and I love pork pies. But you could put anything. You could make like an egg mayonnaise and put it in. It was whatever you wanted to fill in. But they're tiny, so you'd literally stick the whole thing in your mouth and it'd be gone in a bite.
I feel like this is again something that a restaurant would have done, but just made it a little bit bigger and put some garnish on it and then charged you 12 quid for it.
Well, it's made a resurgence a few years ago, and it was supposed to then be again like overcharging you. But no, what you got to remember this was easy party food because you could buy like a pack of those cases. You get like or a couple of them. You'd have 20 or 40. You just make like I said, some egg mayonnaise or coleslaw or whatever, and you would just spoon it into it, and you've got a couple of trays of like party foods there, nibbles.
Oh my God, I'm on Google. I'm looking at photos. Somebody's put prawn cocktail in it.
And that's the ultimate 80s
That's
mashup
it.
then.
That's it. I tell you what, we should do that. We should have like a food night and just throw it all back to all of this
Oh,
stuff
maybe
that
we
was
should.
popular then.
Maybe we should. But
Amazing.
I have to say one, and this right, this epitomizes birthday parties when I was a kid, family gatherings. I think I've seen it called the something something hedgehog. But what it was like cocktail sticks, like toothpicks or cocktail sticks
Yeah.
with a cube of cheese and a cube of pineapple.
Yeah.
They would then be stuck into, like that, what is it, like that really hard foam you get,
Yeah, yeah.
but as a half dome. Then you put tin foil, for Americans, is it aluminum foil? So- And then you would stick the end of the toothpicks into it so it looked like a hedgehog. But it was
Oh my
like cheese
God.
and pineapple.
It's just things like, isn't it weird as well how like back then, well, I'm saying that like it was so long ago, but back then, everything felt like it was just all presentation and that's all that mattered.
Yeah.
Like that's all it was. Like even when we're talking about prawn cocktails, like back then they were the most basic things in the world. Like the ingredients at the time were just crap,
Yeah.
but because it was presented in your crystal glass, you thought, oh my God, this is amazing.
But the thing is, you were giving kids a toothpick. You were asking them to eat this off a toothpick. if you had like cocktail sausages and stuff like that next to it, and the vol au vents and like a bowl of pickled onions, that was it. You're at a party. I went.
Pickled onions as well. My God,
You know, some
brilliant.
onion ring crisps, and you're at any party I went to as a kid. Yeah.
Oh my God, amazing.
The thing is, I absolutely loved those. So whilst cheese and pineapple sounds bizarre, it was nice, and vol au vents were nice. That it's just that now I look back at them and I think it puts me in a time and a place. If you were to give me a plate of that now, I'd be regress. I'd be like 10 years old again.
You'd be sitting there being like, Rocky's just come out. It's the 80s. Duran Duran are a thing. And I'm eating my vol au vents.
Something else, and again, I know we still have this now, but again, it was more of a mainstay of a party. Trifle.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. God, trifle. Yeah, yeah,
So a big bowl, was it those ladyfinger biscuits? Is it
yeah.
jelly, custard, or fruit in the jelly probably, then a layer of custard, then a layer of whipped cream, and then hundreds of thousands on the top.
Now, I can't lie, and this is probably going to offend some of our British viewers. I think trifle's shit.
Yeah, I don't particularly like it.
I hate trifle. I just think do you know what it is? It's a bit like, to me, it's a bit like, do you remember in Friends where Rachel makes that
Yeah.
really crap trifle with mince? Like, to me, trifle is just a load of flavours that don't make sense.
Actually, I prefer to have the one that I think Rachel
Yeah,
made.
yeah. If I'm being honest, because it's true to me, trifle is just things that somebody. I don't know when trifle was invented. I don't know who it was invented by, but I feel like it was just a load of things that just happened to be available that you just slanged into one dessert. Because to me,
Yeah.
yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
But it was like the classic kids dessert at a party or something. You would give them trifle, and it's like I didn't like it. I didn't particularly like custard. Well, I didn't like the cold custard because it
Yeah,
obviously
yeah,
was served cold. You know, you've got cold, the jelly's cold. You've got then the custard is cold. Then you're adding those biscuits in, which if they'd have taken those out, I might have actually enjoyed it. But you've got this weird concoction of like soggy biscuit, jelly, fruit in it, maybe the cold custard. Yeah, just didn't work for me. Just didn't work for me. Anyway, what do you want to go on to now?
Well, I've got some kind of like snack type things. I'm going to start off again when I was young, and that's Lunchables.
Oh, I know what they. Yes, yes, I know.
They were like the packets, and you used to get them
Packed
again. What they
lunch.
used, yeah, basically, it used to be like a
Watch out,
packet.
Jamie Oliver's on us.
Yeah, Jamie Oliver's turning around because the meat content in the ham they gave you in there was literally like 4%, if that. Um, and what they'd be is there'd be like a section with crackers, a section with cheese, and a section with ham, and then you just put like a layer of cheese, a layer of ham between two crackers, and that would be it. I can't remember if they ever came with a dip.
I don't think so.
I don't think they did either. So it was literally just dry cheese, ham, and crackers. But again, they were fantastic things.
And I'm not gonna lie, because I remember when we used to babysit you, and Mum would get you some, and if you didn't eat them, I would eat them. Yeah.
That's what I mean, because they are great, but they're a thing that you're just like, I can't actually buy them for myself nowadays because it's just a bit weird.
I think you have hit on that little thing. What you're doing is there is that little bit of nostalgia and wanting to relive your childhood days, and that Lunchables is absolutely that. Like, could you imagine, right? Could you imagine you pull up at your canteen at work, Joe next to you has got his pasta salad, Sharon on the other side has made like a nice Caesar salad or something, and you rock up with your Lunchables. Are you-
Yeah. All of a sudden, in actual fact, everybody would want a bit of your lunch.
Yeah, you're like, you're all right, yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure.
Now, along the same lines, I've got Dairy Lee Dunkers.
Do you know what? I'd never liked Dairy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't like
Really?
Dairy. Yeah,
Oh wow! So yeah, they were like cheese and like I think they were cheese and onion was the most common flavor, like kind of like crisp potato like stick things almost.
yeah,
And you basically had like was it like a sour cream dip or something at the
yeah,
end? And you used to dip it in the sour cream dip and then eat them. I thought they were brilliant, but again, if you just whipped it out in the middle of your office, you just wouldn't get away with it, would you?
yeah. Actually, you just reminded me of something else I'm going to write down. Like I said, without it sounding negative, even though it is, it's very much a process thing, isn't it? It's very much a thing of convenience. You'd probably buy it to keep your kid happy every now and then, but you shouldn't be having it all the time, right? Or a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah. It's one of those things. It's like it's kind of like if you saw someone if you see someone feeding your kid like a Lunchables or something, it's like you couldn't really be bothered with with it today, could
Yeah.
you?
Oh
Um
dear.
along the same vein, something that would go along with that, baby bells.
Okay, yeah, but I no, I you see, I don't. For me, I don't think it's necessarily a childhood thing. I think you can have it as an adult.
No, no, I think Baby Bells just because of the adverts and everything as well. Again, they were like a staple. Like you would just have a Baby Bell thrown in a packed lunch, wouldn't
All
you?
right, we just know what the poll for this episode's going to be now. Is Baby Bell for children only? Right? No, because do you know what? It's perfect because they're in that wax cases, so you can bring them out with you
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then have
yeah.
it.
That's
So
true.
that's
Yeah.
why I think it's good.
And then the only other thing that I've got that might go in with like a packed lunch or something, which again are crisps that I don't have anymore as an adult, and that's Pom Bears.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're sitting next to me at work and you pull out your Lunchables and a bag of Pop Bears.
I was like, do you know what? Do you know what? When I next go into work, I'm going to the supermarket tomorrow. I am buying the like most like childish packed lunch I could possibly imagine. I'm pulling it all out of work
But
to
you
see
know
what
what?
people's
Pom
reactions are
Bears
going
are
to be.
bloody nice, you know.
Yeah, Pom Bears are brilliant. I think
They're
they're
really
fantastic
nice.
crisps because they're kind of a mix between, do you know, like potatoes and what like Pringles are technically like potatoes, but they're like the mashed up one and then shaped, aren't
Yeah,
they?
yeah, like almost like Frazzles. Did you ever have a Frazzle? It's kind of
Yeah, yeah,
melt in your
yeah.
mouth, don't they? They melt in your mouth. Like a yeah, like a skip, like a quaver. I'd say it's
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
like a
yeah,
quaver,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
it.
That's what it is. Yeah, so I think they're a perfect combination. And they were brilliant, but the only problem is, I even remember as a kid, like I never went for one packet; it'd always be six at a time.
Yeah, but there's nothing to them, so you're fine.
Yeah, this is true. They are literally like minus calories per one, aren't they?
Oh man. I mean, we could go on for ages about crisps, so I won't. But I'm going to bring up two snack things. One was you could get bags of, and these were typically at the pub. So while I'm saying childhood, it's more like teenage years. These three snacks I've got are predominantly from like my sixth form and college years.
Okay.
So one was little bags of pork scratchings. So I don't know if you pork scratchings are just the most bizarrest snack. Have you ever had any?
Pork scratchings are disgusting.
I used to love them though.
Oh no, awful things, awful
If
things.
you're all right with eating, like, bits of hair in
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just grim. Like it's just like again, it feels a bit like something that was left on the factory floor where they
Yeah.
were producing another product. They thought, oh, scoop that up and we'll put that in a packet.
But I tell you what though, go to a pub, have a couple of pints, and then someone open up a bag of pork scratchers, and you tell me different after that, I'll tell you.
I can't.
I wouldn't, like, go and say, "Oh, do you know what? Instead of those bag of crisps, I'm gonna have a bag of pork scratchers." No, but when you're at a pub, it just felt normal. It felt natural, and it felt normal. So, if you don't know what pork scratchers are, I would say look it up. No, just go get yourself some. Find someone, try them, and then come back to us. In the crisp, nibbly kind of thing, scampi flavour fries.
Well, no, never heard of.
You never heard of those? Again,
No.
very much, I think, an 80s thing. I looked on Amazon actually. You can still buy like packs of these and other things, but they were like these little like puff things, and they were flavored. They were supposed to be scampi flavored, so
Right. Okay.
quite a fishy flavor. But they were tiny little bags, and they cost. This doesn't sound a lot, but back then they were like 80p or something, 90p, which as a kid felt extortionate because you could buy penny sweets, right? As sweets for 2p, and then you get a bag like that was like 70 or 80p. But yeah, I think they were Smiths, scampi flavored fries.
Yeah, I'm seeing them now. There's actually a shop that like specializes in selling them as
I
well.
was thinking it was scampi and lemon. That's right. So they had a really strong flavor, really strong smell as well.
You can actually get them from Amazon if you're
Yeah,
interested.
yeah.
Boxes of 24.
Well, you can also get these things. I didn't like them because, again, it was a feeling. It was cheese moments, they're called. So I think they were the same things as scampi flavored fries, but they were filled, instead of being hollow, they were filled with this soft cream cheese kind of thing, which, yeah, I just didn't like. So again, yeah, as a kid, again, if you went to the shop, or in the pub, you could buy a pack of those along with your pork scratchings. So yeah, you'd be the envy of everyone sitting around you who was sober at the time. And the last one, like I said, it's still popular now, but it just epitomizes my sixth form years. Pot noodle.
Yeah, pot noodles, yeah. I feel like that's still just a staple across like universities everywhere. It's like a pot noodle in it.
Yeah, it's kind of the sort of thing you don't have now. Or as an adult, you can get they're more upmarket kind of
Yeah, like
pot
posh pot
noodles. Yeah,
noodles.
posh pot noodles.
No, again, a question. Do they have pot noodles in America?
I haven't got a clue. I haven't got a clue.
Because I know that I think like super noodles and that sort of thing are like a thing in America or like versions of them. But I do wonder if our American audience
I
are missing out on all of these
I'm gonna
amazing British
say
things.
I think pot noodle is specifically British. I don't think I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I don't think they have pot noodles, but yeah, I think they'd have the type of food. You see, you mentioned super noodles. The problem with that is it doesn't come in its own pot.
Yeah, yeah, you actually have to get a
Yeah,
pan out
and
for
you have
them,
to
whereas
cook
this is.
it.
Well, actually, hang on a minute. How can they have pot noodle in America if they don't have kettles?
Oh, that's true, actually. Yeah.
That has to be a British thing.
So yeah, pot noodles are basically these plastic containers with these dried noodles and a flavouring of some sort.
Yeah.
And then yeah, you just boil a kettle, which yeah, you don't have over there, do they?
Yeah, so yeah, you can't surely you can't do pot noodles. But yeah, like you open a pot noodle and it's basically just like dried.
Sawdust. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
sawdust and
it's
dried
sawdust.
sticks,
Yeah,
isn't it?
basically it's all dehydrated. Like again,
Yeah.
like you'd be served on a space station, or if like you had rations. That's what it looks
But
like.
but as a student, you just boiled a kettle, so what, 60 seconds? Tipped it in up to the fill line, waited what, 3 minutes? And then
Yeah,
you had a
yeah.
meal. Well, inverted in quotes, air quotes, you had a meal.
Now, again, sorry, because we're going off on a little bit of tangent with this question, but can I just ask, did you drain the liquid or did you eat it with the liquid in there?
No, I had it with the liquid in there, you have to.
Because I've seen like an argument being made online as to whether or not you should be draining your pot noodles before you eat them.
No. What? No, that's wrong. You're doing it wrong. Stop doing pot noodles wrong.
No, it's not something that I've ever
No,
done.
no, I know
But
that.
but yeah, people have always turned around and said, apparently you need to be draining the water. And I was just like, I've never known that.
And
Surely
I'm not
not. So
gonna
where does the
lie.
flavour go?
I'm not gonna lie, right? If there were flavour I really like you could get like those really hot, spicy ones. I'd get a bit of bread at the end and mop it up if there was stuff left. Yeah, that was the whole point. That's the flavour.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I mean. Where does all the flavour go? Otherwise, you've just got rehydrated plain peas that taste of nothing and noodles that
Yeah,
taste of
yeah.
nothing.
The key though is to put slightly less water that they say though, because then it makes it slightly thicker. That's what
Yeah,
you want.
yeah, yeah.
Because yeah, no, drain the water. Who are these people and why are they wrong?
Oh my god, we need to get like the CEO of Pot Noodle or whoever owns Pot Noodle on to finally bust the myth.
Right, I have got drinks and desserts left.
Yeah, I've got drinks. And again, I feel like everything's just basically like a staple of a lunch that you'd get at school. So the reference to them, and I don't know if this is the brands that I would have had when I was younger, but they were called Quenchy Cups. So they were basically like a plastic container of juice, and they're they're basically like a budget Capri Sun with a straw, and you dig the straw into the top of
Were
the
they
container.
pyramid shaped? Were they kind
Yeah,
of?
yeah, kind
Yeah,
of a
yeah,
little
I
bit
know
like
what they
that.
were.
Yeah,
Never
yeah,
had
yeah.
them, but yeah.
They're like juice things basically, and that was just the drink that you got. Like if you went on a school trip and the school had put on like lunch, like a lunch for you, that's what they'd give you as like a drink.
Is it like typical, like you said, you could get those drinks in like plastic containers with those thin plastic lids with a thin straw, and they were always
Yeah.
like the weakest, probably full of E numbers and everything, and they were the weakest drink. Yeah, oh my word, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I had for drinks. I had Capri Suns down, but I feel like Capri Suns are just a modern day thing. They're just again a staple of childhood, aren't they? Because I feel like if you busted out a Capri Sun in your office, people would look at you a little bit strangely.
Was Capri Sun, and I don't know if you're going to mention it though, but like Sunny Delight, was it just because they were kind of like American again? I will say that probably more so Sunny Delight because I think that's almost how it was, like Sunny D, or you call it
Oh
Sunny
yeah,
D.
yeah, yeah.
Was there an appeal like that for that, or was it just because it's sweet, rubbishy sustenance?
Yeah, I think it was just because it was. I don't. You know what? I don't know. I always remember Capri Sun adverts being on,
Yeah.
but so I don't know if it took off because of that. It was like always the thing of like being popular on television and like adverts. You always used to see it, but again, that was kind of like a staple of
And they were
any
built,
kind of like.
well, built. They were in that pouch thing, which
Yeah,
was
they were about.
unusual, wasn't it?
Yeah, and do you know what the worst thing about a Capri Sun was? The straw only had one sharp end to go in
Yeah.
the drink. If you didn't get it right and you bent the end of that straw, you were not getting your Capri Sun that day.
Well, I got half the Capri Sun over me while trying to open it. That's the problem. So people then started turning them upside down, I think, and stabbing the straw
Yeah,
into the,
in the bottom. Yeah, yeah.
because they were so full that yeah, you tried to put and the problem is the other thing you could do is you could actually stab the straw through the other side of it
Yeah, yeah, you
because
could.
it
Yeah.
was so thin.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my word.
I don't know if they're sold with paper straws now because I can imagine it just makes the task even worse.
God, yeah. Can you imagine that?
But yeah, Capri Suns were the ones.
What else? What other drinks you got?
There was a particular type of milkshake, I think. Now, I'm actually trying to find the name of it because I can't
Crusher.
remember what. Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Yeah, Crusher. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it'd be Crusher. I thought about that earlier.
Were they the ones that had the advert with like the cat or something on it?
Do you know what? I don't remember that. But are you talking about this? Not so much a milkshake, but it was the flavouring for the milkshake.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I've got it right. It was the advert with the cats. The Crusher Cows advert. Yeah, again, if you're listening to this, you need to go and Google that advert and those adverts because I think that's what made it popular was just the nature of the adverts on telly.
You know, I mentioned my dad at the time as well when he worked at the Wimpy's, didn't he? Or the company that owned them. He became like an area rep for them. And we had at home growing up a milkshake machine. And by milkshake machine, what I mean, it was like a metal, a big metal cup, and you had a metal whisk, and you would put basically into the cup. It was like a travel mug, it looked like, but it was all metal. You would add a couple of scoops of vanilla ice cream. You would add some milk, and then you would add the flavouring of your choice, the crusher. So, and then you would then put it up in the whisk, and sort of 30 seconds later, you had a milkshake. So it was lovely. So you could have technically it would be like a fresh milkshake.
Yeah, yeah. It was like, yeah, like powder stuff that would go in it as well. Yeah, yeah.
No, they were great. They were great. And yeah, you remind me because I thought of that, but I forgot to mention it. I've got two drinks and one drink system, I'll call it. So
Right, okay.
that might give away. But the first drink I'm going to mention, I mentioned it in one of our other episodes. So do you remember in the Christmas one, I said I'd always wanted a Mr. Frosty toy.
Yeah.
So slush puppies. I used to
Oh,
love
yeah.
slush puppies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Would it fit into your category of would you have it as an adult now? Probably not. I don't know.
Well, hang on a minute, because there's actually a bit of a trend at the minute, and if you have been clubbing maybe any time over the past like 3 or 4 years, you've started to see a trend where some places are getting slushy machines and just giving you a slushy but putting 2 shots of vodka in it or something.
I really. Oh well,
Yeah, on a
that's
night out.
different. Yeah,
So I feel like that's something that used to be childish that you
yeah,
can now get away with. But like, what are they at cinemas now? Fanta fruit blasts? Is that ice blasts or Tango ice blasts? Sorry, and they're basically just slushies, isn't they? So I feel like they've actually kind of stayed on. To be
yeah.
fair.
But the name like Tango Ice Blast Slush Puppy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's true.
One
Yeah,
is
yeah.
like yeah, this is powerful, and the other's cute and fluffy. But yeah, slush puppies were just. I'm not even gonna say 90. It was like 99% ice, wasn't it? Crushed ice, and
Yeah,
then a
yeah.
color because you wouldn't ask for a flavor. You would just say, "I'll have the blue one or the
Yeah, the
red
blue
one,"
one.
wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or like half and half if you were lucky. Yeah, yeah. Damn.
Slush puppies. Right. One, this is going to seem a bit odd. It's a mineral water. It's Perrier. Do you remember? Do you know Perrier water?
Perrier, I've heard of it, but I
It's in a,
can't say that
I
I've
think
ever
it's in
had it.
have a look. I think it's in a green, like a tall green
Oh, yeah,
glass
yeah.
bottle. And do you know the thing about that is, again, I kind of remember it. It was in the 80s, but it was marketed as something really sophisticated. So it's just mineral water, right? Like now you can go, you've got about 20, 30, 40 different varieties of mineral water on your supermarket shelf. But this was marketed as something, it was just like, it was like the thing, in people were having Perrier water, and that was a buzz, and that's why it became so popular. And again, I think I remember it more from the marketing and how it was rather than I don't think we ever had it. You might have had the odd bottle because everyone tries something, don't they?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but it was just fizzy water, which I never used to like.
Yeah, see, I don't think I've ever tried this, to be honest with you. I actually am quite fond of fizzy water, but just plain stuff because I'm boring. But yeah, I can imagine this being, do you know, again, like along the same vein as prawn cocktail, marketed as something that's like super posh,
Yeah,
like the next big thing,
that
because,
exactly what it was. Exactly. It was super posh. And at one point I think they had it with lemon. You could have it with lemon flavouring, which was nice, it'd be nice. But yeah, so Perrier water because it was the posh thing to do. And if you can imagine at the times of the 80s where mobile phones were breaking, like those massive mobile phones and filofaxes and stuff like that, Perrier water was the other ingredient to
floppy disks.
to make you like a high flying exec.
Yeah, I don't know how many flavors they had when you were young, but they've got watermelon, orange, lime, strawberry, apple.
What, Perrier?
Yeah, yeah,
Wow, wow. Well,
that's
that's
a lot
down
of flavors.
market now. Then you just want one or two at most.
Yeah, and they're
That's
in plastic bottles now. Oh, disgusting.
Now, the last one I said is a system. I never had it, but again, really wanted it, but almost glad we didn't have it because growing up now, I can see
Why
it
it was
would
shit.
it would have been well, no, it's not shit. They're still doing it now, but it would have been a fad. It's
Yeah.
Soda Stream.
Yeah, I just knew you were going there. Yeah, it's just yeah, they're just pointless, aren't they?
It was like, it was marketed as making your own lemonade or your own Coke at home, your Coca-Cola at home. So it was just compressed CO2 canisters, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You would carbonate water and then you would add a flavoring into it, and then you would mix it all up, and then you add your Coke. Now, I can guarantee it probably never tasted like Coke
No
or
chance.
Pepsi.
No chance. Not even Pepsi. I know how bad is that.
And yeah, I can imagine that the mix was never great. But yeah, SodaStream. But again, just reminds me of the time when it was about gadgets. It felt exciting because you could make your own fizzy drinks at home.
Yeah, at a time where you could buy like nowadays, even now, you can buy like lemonade in supermarkets for like 70p a bottle, but instead we're going to sell you this 150 quid machine and then the syrup every two
Well,
months to make it
and the
yourself.
cartridges.
Yeah, yeah, this is what I mean. It's ridiculous, isn't it? But yeah, I'm glad that that never caught on similarly to you because you know what? Maybe I should have given them a try, but I wouldn't invest in the machine now because maybe some of the flavors were good. But again, if you're doing it for Coca-Cola or a Coke taste, I just feel like nothing
Yeah.
compares. So
I think spot on. I'd love to have. I wished I had have tried it just to see if a mate had owned it, just so I could have seen what it was like.
I've got a few sweets, but I'll
Yeah.
rattle through them because I've got a couple of things about how you should be eating them as well. Because again, as a kid, there was only a particular way you should be eating them. So the first one is flying saucers.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Again, now the only correct way to eat these was to split them in half, do all of the sherbet, and then do what was basically the communion wafer, because that's what it was.
Oh my God! You see, the flying saucers, so like you said, yeah, they were a wafer flying saucer filled with sherbet. Right now, they were. When I say the worst thing, I didn't overly like them because I didn't particularly like wafer then, and that sherbet, when you had five, six, seven of them, was quite sickly.
Yeah, yeah.
But you had to get them because they were the staple of like a pick and mix or the cheap sweets, weren't they?
Yeah, and the thing is as well, nowadays, like flying saucers are one of the few sweets that are actually still proper reasonably priced. Like you can go and buy a pack of flying saucers for like 35p in a supermarket, and I think it's brilliant. But I mean they are literally just communion wafer and a bit of sherbet, so it's not a lot that goes into them. But I think they're brilliant sweets for that. And again, you have to eat them a particular way. Another thing that you had to eat a particular way was ice gems.
The little biscuit.
Yeah, they're like a biscuit
Okay,
with
yeah,
then like a tiny bit of icing on the
yeah,
top. And the way
yeah.
that you ate them was you separated the icing from the biscuit. You got all of the biscuit out of the way just so you could have the handful of sugar.
It's funny, isn't it? How you have certain routines for eating food, isn't it?
And
It's
again,
funny.
again, only acceptable way to eat that.
Yeah,
And then I've got one more throwback. And again, I think these got a bad rep because of the nature of the way they were, but candy sticks.
yeah. I think I've mentioned these to a couple of our friends on Twitter before. Yeah,
Yeah, and these, I mean, I still really like candy sticks, to be fair. If I see them anywhere, again, they're like 15 or 20p a packet, so I pick some up just because I think they're brilliant. But when you were a kid, the way that you ate them was you opened them like you'd seen an adult open a packet of cigarettes, you pretended to smoke them, and then you ate them.
well, some of them did have. They were
Yeah, like
marketed.
orange tips at the
Yeah, they
bottom,
were
didn't
marketed
they?
as cigarettes
Yeah,
before they
yeah,
were
yeah.
before they were candy sticks. I knew them as like candy cigarettes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And actually, when you think about it, it's awful that they were
yeah,
marketed like
yeah,
that. And they used to even come, do you know, like cigarette packets back in the day? Again, when I say this,
yeah,
like the 60s, 70s used to come with like, in America, especially, you get like baseball cards or something in them.
yeah.
Like even the candy sticks still come with like, do you know, like a transferable tattoo?
Yes, that's right.
And
Yeah.
that's what they used to come with. But yeah, yeah, absolutely brilliant. And I'm only going to give one honourable mention to Dip Dabs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
Because yeah, just like a stick, and you know what? I couldn't tell you. Do you know the stick that you get
yeah.
in them? I couldn't tell you what that is, and I couldn't even tell you what flavor that stick thing is, because you know it's just like sugar, but I couldn't tell you what it's supposed to be.
So Dib Dabs was 2 packets joined together of different flavour sherbet, wasn't it? Was it
Yeah, and
2?
then you had it was
Yeah.
2. So it was like a strawberry type flavored one, and then I can't remember what the other one. The other one was really sour, and then you got like that yellow stick type thing
Yeah,
in it.
yeah, yeah.
But again, like that stick was weird because it was really sweet but a strange flavor at the same time.
It was
And you
hard,
obviously,
wasn't it? It was
yeah,
hard?
yeah, like a
Yeah,
really hard
yeah, yeah,
boiled sweet, not boiled
yeah,
sweet, but you know what I mean, like a hard candy type thing. But you never had enough sherbet to
yeah.
finish the stick with, so you ended up crunching your teeth down on this really
Oh,
hard
see,
sugar stick.
sherbet was just in everything as a kid, and the amount of times I probably felt sick eating it. We had, sherbet fountain,
Yeah.
and it was, yeah, a tube full of sherbet, and it had a licorice stick in it,
Yeah.
right? And so I used to hate licorice, so what I used to do was I used to chuck that and just literally chuck the sherbet in one go. I'm convinced as well that I recently read somewhere that because of health and safety, because the licorice was sticking out of the pack, that they've now changed it so the licorice is encased in like a plastic cover.
Oh, okay.
Again, I remember as a kid, like I mentioned, so on a Sunday we'd go to like our grandparents' house, and as a kid you'd be stuck trying to make your own entertainment because like the uncles would be chatting or playing cards, and my mum and the aunts would be having a chat, doing whatever they were doing. So we would wait, I think it was like 5:30 on a Sunday afternoon for the shop to open up opposite, and you'd go with like a couple of quid, and you could come back with like about 1,000 sweets because they were like a penny, and it was like the gum lips. There was a fried egg you could get,
Yeah.
the flying saucers. You'd get like watches, candy watches that you would put around your arm. So there was like bits of candy on the
Yeah.
string.
Yeah, everything was made out of those, like, little,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, sweet, like, bracelets and necklaces and all sorts.
yeah, it's just crazy. So you're putting it on yourself and then eating it off. Yeah.
It's like, in an age of COVID, could you think of anything worse?
Yeah, and how many hands have gone into that as you're
Yeah,
picking them out,
yeah.
it's just
I actually, you know what? Just with respect to the pick and mix thing to begin with, I just had pick and mix in my notes, and I literally had pick and this is what my notes say. I had pick and mix meant for kids, but you need to be on an adult budget now.
yeah.
Because it's true. You go to a pick and mix counter, you turn around, you fill it up with what you want, you get there and they're like, oh, that'll be £32, please. You're like, hang on a minute.
It's like I have to remortgage my house to afford it.
Yeah, yeah. Like the ones at the cinemas are always the worst. Ones at the cinemas are always the worst.
But these used
But
to be
yeah.
like a penny. Each
Yeah,
sweet
this
used
is
to
what
be
I
a
mean.
penny.
Yeah. It
I
used to
remember
be like
half penny at one point. They were like back in the I'm not gonna say when I was a lad, but yeah, they were half penny at one point.
But you know what it is as well? I feel like even with sweet shops now, I think like what's like do we have big chains of sweet shops? I think we've got like that yay old sweet shop. Is that like
Yeah.
one that you see around? But I feel like the whole marketing thing towards sweet shops like that is like, oh, it's all premium because it's
Yeah.
also stuff that's imported and that comes at a premium. And they're even turning things like you'll get like a pick and mix bag from one of these shops, it'll be like £6. And you're like, I've literally got some Coke bottles, some flying saucers, and some fizzy snakes and you're charging me £6 for it, and that's not what they were supposed to be. Do you know what I mean? Like they
Oh,
were
Coke
supposed to
bottles
be
as well, yeah.
like you could pop to the shops with, like you say, a couple of pound, and you could come away with like a bag of sweets that was going to do you for like a few days.
When I was a kid, literally, God, when I was a kid, if you had a couple of quid between you, you'd eat like a king on sweets. Seriously, you'd be sick. You'd be sick at the end of the night. That was the thing. But now here, like when you go to London, I was just thinking of what you said. You've got just loads of like American candy shops,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's like they're so expensive,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
thing. And it's just like th- they're a similar, and I'm sure you used to be able to get those things because I remember. Did you ever have nerds when you were a
Oh yeah,
kid?
yeah. The really hard little tiny
Yeah,
things.
but
Yeah, yeah,
really like strong flavor like that would make
yeah,
you suck your entire face in when you're eating them sour. I'm sure you could get those when I was a kid, and they were quite cheap, but now they
yeah,
seem really
yeah.
expensive. I used to remember another American sweet was Jolly Ranchers.
Heard of them? Seen them in shops? Never bought them. No.
They were really nice. I remember local shop used to have them, so I would get one every now and then. You'd have watermelon flavors, things like that. Sorry, I had a few desserts. Are you done with your desserts or sweets or?
I've got some ice creams.
All right, you go for yours. You go for yours.
Okay, I'll go through mine pretty quickly. Mini milks.
Oh, okay, yeah, I never liked those.
Yeah, they were like those, like they were always marketed with like cows and stuff on the front, and I think they were chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla,
Yeah,
and they were basically like a tiny little like kind of like cream lolly
yeah, yeah,
almost,
yeah.
because they weren't really an ice cream; they were kind of like a cream lolly, and they just tasted like again of like medicine flavor, basically whatever flavor you had tasted like medicine.
And these were
Um,
predominantly from the ice cream van that would come
yeah,
round,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
they
you
were,
could
weren't
get
they?
them in
They were,
shops, but yeah.
yeah. I've got screwballs.
Yes, you've nicked one of mine, but yes, yes.
Yeah, and like they were the ones with like bubble gum at the bottom, weren't they?
So it was a cone of ice cream, like, I think
Yeah,
like vanilla and strawberry, like, strawberry syrup,
yeah.
and you had a bubblegum ball at the bottom, and I that was the only reason I ever got that. So you could buy a pack of bubblegum for less price than
Yeah.
that, but I only ever got that because there was a bubblegum at the bottom of it.
Yeah, and it was like a task and a challenge.
Yeah.
And then the next one I've got and the last one I've got is Calippo shots.
I don't
Now,
know
if you
Calippo shots.
I think they still got them in, do you know, like newsagents where you've got like the tiny little fridge of ice cream?
Yeah, yeah,
They've
yeah.
always got them in the bottom of these shops, and they were like a little plastic container, and you twist the top of the container, and you tip them out in your hand, and they were basically just like tiny little bits of Calippo in different flavors
Oh,
in
okay.
these tiny little like ball bearing sized balls,
Yeah, yeah,
basically.
yeah. No, I
But yeah,
never had those.
they were always brilliant, very refreshing on a hot day. To be fair,
See, I love those kind of things. Like, I did love the original Calippo or
oh
those
yeah, they were brilliant.
ice
They were
pops, or what was it? Twister? Was it Twister?
Twister, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We had like the ice cream and then the cream bit like round the
Well,
middle.
you had the ice bit, like an ice lolly, one twirl, and then yeah, the ice cream that went in amongst that. But you've just said something that I think has hit the nail on the head again for me. I think that's what I miss is tend not to have ice cream now. If you do, you'll go to the supermarket and buy some ice cream. But back in the day when either the ice cream van came round and you ran out to it, or you go into the newsagent and they've got their ice cream freezer with like the
Yeah,
pictures of the
yeah,
feast and the
yeah, yeah.
cornettos on the side. And it's the thing as a kid where you're staring at it for about 20 minutes because you can't decide what one you want.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it a fab? Do you have a fab? Is it or
Oh my god, fabs! Oh my god, again, there was only one correct way to eat them. You got all of the chocolate and the hundreds of thousands off
yeah,
first, then
yes.
you ate the white bit round the red bit, and then you'd finish with the red bit.
And there was a rocket. Do you remember rocket? That was
Oh
like
god, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know what? Sorry, just while we're there on the thing of ice creams as well, I did have 99s down, but only on the basis that when you were young they were actually 99p. Whereas
yeah,
now you ask for a 99, you get a flake in it, and the bloke says that'll be £3, please. And I'm like,
that's it.
you know, it's a tiny little bit of ice cream on a really crap wafer cone.
See, I didn't like wafer, so I didn't. So I the only time if I ever got those, it was to get a flake.
You were really inefficient when you were young.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, I've got some. Well, I'll skip one quickly. I'm gonna say Black Forest Gatto cake. That was very much again of like family parties of the 90s and Sarah Lee cakes in particular. So you'd get like the chocolate cake or a Black Forest Gatto. Arctic roll.
Yeah, yeah.
So Arctic roll is like a round, like a what do you call it? Like a cylinder of vanilla ice cream, and then it's wrapped in a sponge, isn't it? That's got like a very thin strawberry sauce.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh my God, as a kid, that was my favorite. I think you can still get it, but mother, she tried, I think it was last Christmas to try and get me some, but it was all sold out in the supermarkets. You couldn't get it. I think it's people living the memory. But again, because it was just that sponge with ice cream. It was just something different. Do you remember? I don't know what it's called, so I've called it chocolate topper. It was where
I'm
you'd
not
have
sure.
it's where you'd have ice cream and then you had the chocolate sauce that you poured over the top of it and then it froze.
Oh, I'm not sure about that one, you know.
Again, really pointless, but yeah, so you're at home, you get vanilla ice cream or whatever, then you had this sauce in a plastic bottle, you squeeze it over, and then when it hits the ice cream, it kind of solidified.
Right, okay.
So you'd have like a crunchy chocolate or strawberry topping.
Okay. I've yeah, never heard of them, but they sound all right to be fair.
I can't remember what it's called. I'd have to have a look and I'll link it to you another time. Angel Delight? Have you ever had
Angel's
Angel?
Delight. Yeah, I don't like Angel's Delight, but
No,
yeah, I can. It's
no,
an
I don't.
iconic thing. Yeah.
It's kind of like Smash. I actually looked it up before we started because I couldn't remember what Angel Delight actually was, and they just call it a British pudding. They don't say what it is. They just call it a pudding, And again, it was it's powder that you just add water to, and then you mix it up, and it was kind of like is it like almost like a yogurt? I actually don't know. If anyone knows what Angel's Delight actually is, but again, it was heavily advertised, and you got different flavors. But the one I'm going to finish with is Vienetta.
Vienetta. That is some top tier dessert. That is.
Vienetta is like the ice cream equivalent of from Ferrero Rocher.
Yeah, yeah. That
If
is
you
an
got the
amazing
ambassador
comparison.
coming round, if you got the ambassador coming round for dinner, you want to
Yeah,
give him Vienna. It
yeah.
was the posh ice cream. If you were having a dinner party, you'd rock up with the Vienna laid out on like a long plate, and that was it.
Yeah.
You were the ones to beat then. Do you know what I mean? But to be fair, it's lovely. I like
Yeah, yeah.
Vienna.
Vienna is brilliant, and you know what? It's one of the few foods that do you know when like you look at Viennetta in terms of the chocolate to ice cream, it's actually bang on because there's quite a lot of chocolate in it,
Yeah.
and I quite like that. Whereas if it had been anything else that was made today, you'd always feel they'd skimp on something like that. But that's why Viennetta was always elite, amazing amount of chocolate.
But also they did it clever because then you had the chocolate layers in it, but they were like thin and crispy. So as you were
Yeah,
cutting through it, they made that cracking
yeah.
sound. It was like an early Marks and Spencer advert. They marketed the like that crunch as being something special. And yeah, seriously, you know, I can't impress upon you that how much it was seen as a posh dessert.
Starting with a prawn cocktail and finishing on a Viennetta, you were dining at the fucking Ritz.
It's funny how things change because, you know, obviously you still get it. And like I said, it was nice. It's just I just don't think you're buying it now to try outdo your friends, are you?
Yeah, I used to have I used to always do it with fruit as well. Like my grandmother always used to put like strawberries or something with it
All right, yeah.
because that was actually quite a nice mix as well. You had chocolate with the ice cream and then you had strawberries to cut. It was a brilliant, yeah, brilliant thing. But Viennetta's bloody elite. Rate it.
And it was just a big rectangular or oblong chunk of ice cream, wasn't it? And like I
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
it was the only one I think you would ever present. It's not like you'd have you bring out your tub of Neapolitan ice cream and put it on
Neapolitan ice
yeah,
cream, my God, yeah.
yeah, you know, you wouldn't put that on the table or like a big tub of vanilla ice cream. You wouldn't do that. But with Viennetta, you would present it on a tray, on a serving dish.
Yeah, anybody that bought Viennetta back in like the 90s did have a specific tray that was used for Viennetta.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
amazing.
All right. Have you got anything else that come to mind?
Well, I've actually got one question for you because when we were talking about things that were perceived as posh at one point, one thing that I want to know is what about pavlova? Was that something that was posh back in the day?
It may have been, but it may have been before me. I remember though it being served as like a dessert at school, and I didn't, you know, my school wasn't posh. But again, it's something I avoided because pavlova is like the meringue, isn't it, with the cream in the middle, and I just found
Yeah.
it too sickly. I had it once and I just didn't like it. It was too sweet.
Yeah, I always found that with pavlova, but that reminds me of a dessert that would have been at some point a bit like your prawn cocktail, but for afters, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. And
Yeah,
possibly.
I'll have to do some digging on that one.
The thing is, right, we could talk about then, we could do a whole episode on crisps alone. Like you had the Space Raiders, we said Frazzles, Ringos, there were all sorts of things,
The
you
ones where
know.
you put your own salt in them, salt and shakes.
Salt and Shake, yeah. Oh man, yeah. Oh God. Anyway, no, I think we need to end there. We need to end there. So have you got anything else on food?
No, no, no. That's my final note. Apart from the fact that this episode has proved that I'm definitely a fat bastard. We didn't name a single vegetable in this episode.
What are they?
It was either all the dinner items were beige or everything else had sugar in it.
Well, hope you enjoyed what is going to be the first episode of Food Month. We've got a couple of exciting episodes to come up, so we will reveal more soon. Before we finish, we've recorded this episode quite early, actually, haven't we? Since the previous episode
Yeah.
has gone out, as in literally the next day. So I'll read a few. So over on Good Pods, we still have got a few reviews. We've got Antonio from the Cult Worthy. Hey there, he's given us 5 stars. Josh from Talking Smack has given us 5 stars. Decane with the Boys 5 stars. And you know who else has given us 5 stars? My favourite. Kay from the Fuck my work life.
It's never going to get old.
No,
It's never going to get old.
that's the Fuck My Work Life podcast.
If someone hates us, will you read the shit reviews out as well?
I will possibly, yeah. I mean, they're going to be. Well, I was going to say there's fun. Cue the review bombing. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
we've got to be honest. We've got to be honest, haven't we?
Some person said, couldn't get through the first 15 minutes without these fucking arseholes doing my head in.
Oh dear. So, do you want to say bye, Lee?
Right, I'll see you in the next episode where we can turn around and indulge in some more food talk. I'm going to go hit the fridge.
I'm actually quite hungry.
I'm going to go open the fridge door, stand there for 10 minutes, and then realise I've got nothing to eat.
Drive down to Tesco and buy some Lunchables
Yeah,
and
I'll find a
fridge
24-hour
raiders.
Tesco, yeah.
Do you do any turkey Twizzlers?
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, could you
Yeah.
imagine?
Okay, I'll say goodbye. We'll play out with the live stream for the Cure trailer again, but before we finish, of course, we know there's a lot of podcasts from which you can choose. So we thank you for listening to Casting Views.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nick. I'm the host of Nikolai's Kitchen, and I'm also the host of the annual live stream for the Cure. Live Stream for the Cure is a charity event where we raise money with content creators and podcast partners from around the world for the Cancer Research Institute, a wonderful nonprofit researching cancer immunotherapy, training the body's immune system to fight all forms of cancer. This is a mission and a future that I truly believe in. And myself and my team worked tirelessly over the past 5 years to raise over $50,000 for this cause. This year, we're aiming for our biggest single goal to date of $20,000, and we cannot do it without your help. Please join us for the event May 19th through the 21st, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern, for 45 hours of content from people all over the world. Together, we can bring hope for a future immune to cancer. The more eyes we reach, the more dollars we raise. Please help us in making this goal a reality. Together, we can make a difference.